Why has Canon killed the R5C? We were told that a successor was coming sometime in 2025. Does this also mean that Canon's killed the R3 II as well? Well, I'll break it down for you in just a moment, but if you are serious about staying up to date on the latest camera gear, hit that subscribe button. It helps this channel grow and it keeps you in the loop. And this isn't some sort of clickbait. I wouldn't play with your emotions that way. I believe strongly in honesty and transparency. According to Canon rumors, we've been told by a couple of people that Canon will not be doing the Mark II version of the EOS R5C. I don't think this should be too much of a surprise considering how capable the EOS R5 Mark II is. Well, bugs aside that Canon needs to fix ASAP. It seems that the experiment that was the R5C is sadly over. The R5 II got a lot of the capabilities that we saw in the R5C. Now we don't get vector scopes and some of those other things, but we get waveforms. And while that 30-minute record limit was removed, we don't get that unlimited recording with that active cooling that we see in the R5C. Well, that is of course if you can provide it with enough power. The R5C has more cinema tools and features a dedicated timecode in an output port. But the R5 II does have a better autofocus system, IBIS, and a higher frame rate and more dynamic range. So why the difference in these two cameras? Well, simply put, they're aimed at two completely different customers. The Canon EOS R5 Mark II is aimed at hybrid shooters who need a top-tier stills and video camera in one compact and reliable body. Ideal for weddings, events, and content creation with a fast autofocus, IBIS, 8K 4K 120 capabilities. But the R5C, built for filmmakers who need cinema tools like waveforms, timecode, shutter angle, and unlimited 8K recording or unlimited 4K recording. Best for long-form productions where video features matter far more than stills or portability. So if you trusted Canon and took a chance on the R5C, well, you might feel a little bit, well, left out in the cold. But that isn't necessarily the case. One source said that there is a Cinema EOS camera that will take the place of the EOS R5C. We don't know what the model's name is, or what it will be, or even the capabilities, but it will be placed somewhere below the Cinema EOS C80 and the Cinema EOS C400. Well, that gives us a whopping price range of $4,000, somewhere between $4,000 and $8,000, as the C400 lists for $79.99 and the C80 lists for $54.99. But the big question is, when? Well, once again, Canon Rumors tells us that there will be a Cinema EOS announcement before September, and in this case, an awful lot of them. We may see these new cameras ahead of the IBC trade show, which takes place in Amsterdam in September. If we take the logic that Canon's applied to the EOS R5C versus the R5 II, is there not a chance that Canon could apply the same logic to the R3 II versus the R1? Canon may very well have cancelled the EOS R3 Mark II project, and we, along with many other pros, well, we think it makes sense. The Canon EOS R3 was released as a high-speed pro-level camera built for sports, fast action, and photojournalism. It acted as a stand-in for the R1. It acted as a bridge between the 1DX Mark III DSLR and what we would eventually see in the Canon EOS R1. The R3 gave us eye-controlled autofocus, a rugged body, and great low-light performance, but it was never meant as a flagship. That's the role of the 1 series. And now that the R1 is here, the R3 sits in a very strange place, a very discounted place. Released at $59.99, now selling for $39.99. The R1 offers better autofocus, an updated sensor, faster processing, and even more advanced subject tracking. It's clearly built to serve professional demands at the highest level. The Olympics, the sidelines, the battlefield. It's just not better than the R3. It replaces it at the very top. That leaves the R3 stuck in the middle. Too expensive to be entry level, and not enough room to expand the EOS R3 Mark II. Canon essentially wants a very clear lineup. The R1 at the top is aimed at those people that want the best possible image, the highest hit rate, and the least amount of noise possible. It's aimed at photojournalists, sports and fast action photographers. Then for those looking for a high-resolution camera, a camera that not only does high-resolution video but also stills at a very fast rate at 30 frames per second, there's the 5 series. And then beneath that, we have the Canon EOS R6 Mark III, which is due to be announced, well, any week now, and of course the Canon EOS R7, which also could be released at any week now. You see, the R3 kind of sits at a strange place, and if you go back in time to when we had the 1DX Mark III released, back in January of 2020, it made sense. Sony released the Alpha 1, and then Nikon released the Z9. Canon needed a camera at the high end to deliver what professionals needed. But today, with the R1 at the top and the R3 at $39.99, is there really room for another high-priced camera to compete against the R1? There's really not a lot of room between what the R3 stands for right now and the R1. Sure, one camera has dual CF Express Type B card slots and a slightly better processor and sensor. But at the end of the day, what would the R3 Mark II look like? I mean, the R1, after all, got a lower price than the 1DX Mark III, which released in 2020 for a price of $64.99. The R1 today is $62.99. There's little room left in Canon's lineup for another $6,000 camera. And if Canon can't see the writing on the wall, well, they need new or better optics. So no, we're unlikely to see a follow-up to the Canon EOS R3. It doesn't really make sense. And I'm not saying that the R3 isn't a good camera because, well, it is. But the market doesn't need two $6,000 cameras. And I know the price could be a little bit less. And don't look at that price, $39.99. This camera came out at $59.99, has slowly been reduced in price. But if we take a look at that camera, and even if we look at that right now, we look at the R6 Mark III, which is due to come out, it's going to sell for a price of around $2,500 to $2,900. It's really going to put the R3 Mark I in a strange place, let alone what any successor would do, because based on what the R1 can do with its sensor, and that cross-type autofocus points on the sensor, the new improved autofocus system, dual CF Express Type B card slots, how would the R3 Mark II differentiate itself from the R1? A single card slot? No, not at that price point. Even the Canon EOS R5 Mark II doesn't make sense with it doesn't make sense having a single CF Express Type B card slot. It really doesn't. I've gotten to the point now where I just use a single card slot unless I'm shooting something very important. The SD card slot, it's a nuisance. It gets in the way. And for the R3 to come out at $6,000 with a single CF Express Type B card slot, and for the R3 Mark II to do the same, it wouldn't make any sense. It would be frustrating for professionals. So what, you've got a mini-me of the R1, a discounted version of the R1 for somewhere between $4,500 and $5,900? I don't really think it makes sense. What do you think? Again, Canon Rumors is telling us that the R5C Mark II isn't coming out. It's killed. That project is done for. I'm purely speculating that if they're willing to take that reasoning for the R5C, it certainly makes sense that they're going to apply that same reasoning to the R3. I mean, after all, it's a much smaller market, and I think it can be better served by the R1, especially seeing that it's got a price discount. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below, but I want to say a big thanks to all of you for watching to the very end. And if you're interested in supporting this channel and you're from the United States, please consider purchasing through Adorama, B&H, and Amazon.com, because I get anywhere from 2 to 5% back. And quite literally, it keeps the key light and the fill light on this channel, literally and figuratively. So honestly, thank you very much. It's very much appreciated. I love doing this channel. I really enjoy it. And I don't know, maybe you've been keen-eyed, but have you noticed lately a new author on Canon Rumors? Take a look. I've actually been posting some content there as well. Anyhow, thank you so much for tuning in. Have yourself a great day, a great week, and we'll see you again soon.